What's up, guys? Justin Coffin, 330 Sports Show. We're doing this on election evening. It is Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. We do two shows usually on Tuesday night. The first one is most of the time not the more fun one because we talk mostly Cleveland Browns, especially in the fall. So we're going to get into the Browns talk here in a little bit. So we're going to talk a little bit about the trade deadline. Kevin Stefanski gave up play calling. We're going to talk about last week in the NFL, the Browns bye week. They're preparing. They're getting ready for the New York Jets this coming weekend. We'll talk about some of the division races and conference stuff, AFC North stuff, this week's pick, and we will also check in on the Cleveland Cavaliers a little bit. 4-3 right now, kind of getting back in the swing of things. Darius Garland's coming back tomorrow night. So we'll talk about all that stuff. Plus, we're going to wrap up the World Series. Awesome Game 7. Pretty good series overall, but an awesome Game 7 if you were able to watch that on Saturday night. And then finally, since it is election night, we're going to cast our vote. We're going to do a VOGT, Stephen vote, and we'll share that at the end of the show. So this will be the shorter of the two podcasts tonight. But with that said, I'm going to bring in Greg from Columbus, Ohio, and we're going to talk some Cleveland sports. So Greg, how you doing tonight?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. No complaints. So I'm just got some action on in the background here. Got some election stuff on. So should be interesting. But we'll get right into it with the Cleveland Browns because they always are interesting no matter what, even if they're uninteresting and irrelevant in the NFL. So let's just get right into the Browns. And so trade deadline, nothing, kind of really a no-show today. They trade away Tryon Shoyinka, basically a defensive end there, and a 7th rounder, get a 6th round pick back. They did not bring any players in to help them this year, which is, we kind of saw that coming. So basically, this is the squad you got the rest of the year. So thoughts on the Browns, either kind of staying put. He didn't play a ton for the Browns. That was kind of like a small free agent move in the offseason. He was a former first-round pick. The Bears, add some depth there with that trade. But thoughts on the Browns kind of staying put at the deadline?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised to see it. I figured there'd be a lot more activity from the Browns. I thought at least like David Njoku would be traded, for that was what it seemed like was going to happen, and potentially some others. Didn't necessarily think Myles Garrett would be traded at the deadline, but it was surprising. I guess we'll chalk it up to the fact that I'm sure they had some names out there and ultimately didn't get the value that they were looking for, and probably drove not making the trade. So, but yeah, I thought we'd be, not quite Jets level sellers, but
right.
We would be sellers, but kind of a non-event. Hopefully, Andrew Berry didn't forget the trade deadline date, like supposedly like the Giants GM did today.
Yeah, if like the casual common fan knows it, I'm pretty sure an NFL GM should know that. I did not hear that story. You'll have to fill me in on that a little bit more. So what was the details on that?
I mean, supposedly, I saw it from a couple places. I think it was literally like the Jets or the Giants, GM. I don't know what his name is. Like, had to rush into the office today because he was under the impression the deadline was tomorrow. Could be a joke on the internet. I don't think it was. I saw it in a couple different, a couple different tweets, but so I thought that was pretty funny.
That is pretty good. So, but yeah, like you said, it kind of a pretty big active, not a ton of movement, but there was some big movement. So Sauce Gardner, who we were supposed to play this weekend with the Jets, goes to Indy, and I mean, a huge deal, like 2 first rounders. like a huge trade there. Dallas also acquires Quentin Williams from the Jets. And, you had some other minor moves. Jacoby Myers gets traded from the Raiders to the Jags. You have Rashid Shaheed going. But I mean, honestly, the Jets, to me, that's what I wanted the Browns to do. Like, if you're going to be tanking, just tank. Just tank. Get rid of your guys. No one wants to give up your favorite players. No one wants to trade David Njoku. No one wants to trade Denzel Ward. No one wants to trade Myles Garrett. Like, those are your core guys. However, when your core is a 3-14 football team last year and you're 2-6 this year, you're not really going. You're not getting to the mountaintop with that team. So we were under the impression we were blowing it up, but obviously no major moves. But Browns do acquire one more asset. Maybe that 6th rounder helps you get up to a 4th round pick or something next year. So, a minor move, or maybe you acquire a vet in the offseason or something like that. So,
to your point, the Jets next year they have their own 1st round pick. They have Indy's 1st round pick. And then they have their own 2nd round pick and the Cowboys' 2nd round pick. So 2 firsts, 2 seconds next year. And they have 3 firsts. There's Dallas and Indy's in 27. So
wow.
5 first round picks in the next 2 years.
And don't be surprised if the Jets, especially if they're ready to move on from Justin Fields, if they just take a few of those guys that they like a quarterback in the draft and go after them, whether it's this year or next. But yeah, so I guess Jets kind of whether you like it or not, a winner or loser at the deadline there. So, all right, let's move on. Let's move on here. So Kevin Stefanski yesterday said he's going to give up play calling duties to offensive coordinator Tommy Rees. Now, this is kind of a big deal in a way because last year Ken Dorsey started the year and then Kevin Stefanski took it back, and then Kevin Stefanski was kind of known for his like play calling guru status, and that's why he was hired, and that's why a lot of people around the league like him because especially those first drives of the game, that are scripted. He is great at those. When, you had the team humming there in 2020 and 2023, the offense was great, but you also had Nick Chubb, you had a healthy Baker Mayfield, you had OBJ, whatever you think of him, Jarvis Landry, some other weapons in there. Njoku was mixed in there too, but it's like, this team doesn't have those offensive firepower quite as those teams did. So what's your thoughts on Stefanski kind of giving up the play calling duties?
I don't know. It always seems interesting when this happens. It is like, I'm sure that, obviously there was a lot of noise and pressure from the outside to do that. So you wonder how much of that even seeps through the walls. You wouldn't think it would. And then you kind of think like, is it almost like, well, Stefanski saying, all right, fine, we'll show you that, no matter who calls plays, we don't have the personnel to do it. It's kind of a lose-lose for Stefanski, honestly, because if it works out, then it's like, man, you really sucked at calling plays because this guy came in and did so much of a better job. If it doesn't work, it's like, see, your team's terrible. It doesn't matter. So, yeah, it's hard to see how like Stefanski comes out positive on this. So it just makes you wonder then if there's pressure from other parts of the organization to do this or what it might be. But
yeah,
again, we've all been kind of screaming about the play calling. It's worth, change for the sake of change sometimes can be good.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it actually translates on the field. But like I said, for Stefanski, I don't see how this ends up being really a positive for him.
Yeah. What do they say? Like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. It's like, that's kind of, it's like you said, mix it up. Maybe something works, maybe something doesn't. But yeah, for Stefanski, I don't know how he can come out a winner in this unless the Browns just suddenly go on a big roll and can maybe get into in the hunt conversation for the playoffs. They do have some winnable games coming up, but I think we're all fairly realistic here to know what the actual expectations are for this team. So no game for the Browns last week on a bye week. Greg and I, here's our last week's picks. We'll take a look at last week. So kind of, we're kind of up and down to start the season, but we were on a real hot streak, kind of brought back down to earth a little bit last week. 9-5 for me, 7-7 for Greg. Greg still has a 2-game lead on the season, 85-49-1. But like we called it, the Ravens get it done. We're going to talk about all these games here in just a second, but like some wild games mixed in here, especially that Cincinnati game. So why don't we just get right into that right now? Let's just do one thought from week 10, and let's start with the Ravens just getting after the Dolphins on last Thursday night. We kind of said, this team's a sleeping giant. When Lamar gets back, he might not fix all the ills of this team, but he's a damn good quarterback. And when that offense is going, that takes a little bit of pressure on that defense. Your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Miami's not a very good team, but it's kind of reminds you like when using a basketball reference, when a shooter sees one go in and it's like, yeah, don't let me see one go in, or don't give me a shot to make a free throw, because then I'm, and it just feels like that was the Ravens free throw right there.
Yep.
And, the run is you kind of see it coming, but we'll see what happens. Lamar's got to stay healthy, but they're poised. We've been talking about it for a while.
Let's go to probably the craziest game maybe of the year so far. And I admittedly missed this. You were keeping me updated with some texts, and I was like out just doing stuff, but I was driving, so I wasn't able to watch this live. But Bears 47, Bengals 42. Tell us about that game.
Yeah, just another one. I mean, the Bengals seem to be playing the crazy, almost. Yeah, I think it's 3 weeks in a row where the Bengals have probably had the craziest game of the week, or one of the craziest games of the week. Yeah, this one was nuts. Really, the last 4 or 5 minutes was almost like something I've never seen. Because the Bears had what everybody had thought was a pick six that had put the game out of reach, was ultimately called back, and that would have put him up 3 scores with 4 minutes to go. Called back, and then the Bengals score twice. They do the whole go for 2 when you're down 14 and score. They take a 1-point lead, and then just absolutely blow the the defense just, blows the coverage, blows the tackling on Colston Loveland. Bears win, Bears win again. It's just there's so much you could say, but the Bengals defense continues to be absolutely atrocious. They continue to find, unbelievable ways to lose football games. And all the while, Joe Flacco continues to play really well, but you just wonder how much longer Zach Taylor is going to have as the coach, the way this defense has played for a number of years.
Now, I know we like to kind of fly through these real quick, but do you think it's an indictment on the Browns more so, or I'm trying to think of a way to phrase this. Do you think it's an indictment on the way the Browns handle Joe Flacco, the way he's putting up crazy numbers? Is it the weapons they have in Cincy, or was it the Browns scheme?
I mean, there's probably a little scheme in there, but I think it really just comes down to the personnel. It's just, again, we go back to the beginning of the season. People are talking about the Bengals offense being historically good, and they still have the weapons. They just didn't have the quarterback. So, but yeah, it's just like we see with Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold and guys like that, Baker, who's been, have failed in certain areas or certain teams, certain situations. It really comes down to the right fit and the right people around you. So I think it's more on that. It's more on just our lack of offensive personnel.
Okay. Vikings 27-24, slight upset. I would call this a pretty decent upset over the Lions. JJ McCarthy looked decent in this game. Lions just a ton of self-inflicted mistakes in this game. Your thought?
Yeah, got to give McCarthy his due. He played really well because it was kind of weird. Felt like they were holding him out for a long time with that injury. Like maybe they didn't want to bring him back, but he came back, played really well. And, as good as the Lions are, like the Vikings got after Goff, and Goff has these games where he just looks terrible every once in a while. And this was one of them. So great win for the Vikings, tough loss for the Lions.
Yeah. Yeah. I have now added a second team to my ledger of teams I will not, well, third team to my ledger of teams I will not bet this year. The New York Jets. I will not bet the Atlanta Falcons, and now I will not bet the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers have got me twice this year. Last leg of a money line parlay. I think the Packers were 14.5-point favorites in this game, and they lose outright 16-13 against Carolina Panthers. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I believe it was like the biggest favorite to lose in the last 3 years. All credit to the Panthers, really, but also just a terrible loss for the Packers, who, they just seem to be like that team that they look like a Super Bowl team one week, and then they can also look completely inept. But this is a real head scratcher, and it's a terrible home loss. A lot of booing in that game too, the crowd. Yeah. So there's some frustration there. And Tucker Kraft lost for the season, so all of a sudden, these last two games we just talked about are two of probably going into this week. You'd say that maybe the two top Super Bowl contenders in the NFC both looked really bad. And some new ones may have emerged, as we'll talk about in a minute.
Absolutely. And we'll go back to the AFC of this next game. Chargers 27, Titans 20. Titans jumped out to an early lead, a couple, kind of fluke plays there that got them a lead, but Chargers, the better team, end up winning this one. Your thought?
Yeah, I think another tough, Chargers have had a lot of injuries on the O-line, and they got another one with Joe Alt, I think, went down possibly for the season. I know he got carted off. So you got to wonder their long-term viability with a lot of offensive line down. But yeah, it's a game they had to win. They were able to do it. Herbert looks great. But yeah, you got to wonder, just what's the Chargers ceiling now?
Yeah, for sure. That's a team that's going to make some noise, but it's going to be a tougher road for them. Patriots 24, Falcons 23. The Jekyll and Hyde Falcons. This was more of the better version of the Falcons that showed up against a good New England team, but New England moves to 7-2 on the season. Your thought?
Yeah, I mean, all they do is figure out a way to win. I don't think they're quite a 7-2 caliber team, but your record is what it is, and the Patriots are really set up, I think, with a continued favorable schedule. And yeah, like you said, Falcons played well in that game, missed extra point, but their season is really on life support at this point.
No doubt. 49ers go on the road, get it done, 34-24 in this game. Your thought?
I think Mac Jones is making himself some money somewhere. I think he's really shown a lot with this team, and and the Niners kind of keep it rolling.
Dare I say Mac Jones, potential rehab quarterback in the Cleveland Browns uniform next year if they don't love someone in this upcoming draft. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's possible. You got to get him. Like we just said though, you got to get him weapons.
Yep.
So, but yeah, there's worse choices I think we can make.
as we've shown. An upset in Pittsburgh, a slight upset in Pittsburgh, but it is hard. It is hard to win in what's it called, Acrisure Stadium there. Steelers 27, Colts 20. Your thought on that game?
Yeah, it's Steelers. How long have the Steelers been winning games like this? And we probably should. Shame on us for not seeing that one coming. But Daniel Jones finally came crashing back to earth. Is it one bad game, or is it maybe the start of something to come here? It'll be interesting to see how the Colts respond to this, because, like you said, tough spot, tough place to play. Steelers backs against the wall, get it done. And we'll see how the Colts react.
Yep. This next one, I actually had the Texans plus 1.5 in this game, and they had the lead. And then CJ Stroud got absolutely obliterated. I cashed that bet out as soon as I heard that news. Broncos end up getting it done 18-15. Your thought?
Yeah, you talk about another 7-2 team that just has found a way. I think almost all of the Broncos wins have been, or maybe almost all their games have come down to last second field goals, really. Yeah. So, but they get it done, and yeah, Stroud. I think if Stroud doesn't get hurt in that game, it felt like the Texans would have probably won that game relatively easily. Their defense, as we've talked about, is really good. But credit to Bo Nix, he's got a way to he can look really bad, but when it's crunch time, he has that knack for pulling games out in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and uses his legs a lot to get it done too in those crucial moments. Jaguars 30, Raiders 29 in overtime. Unfortunate that's an unfortunate win for the Browns as well in that game, but Jaguars squeaked by a pretty bad Raiders team. Your thought?
Yeah, I mean the big positive for the Raiders is Brock Bowers is back and healthy, and I think we maybe forgot how good that guy is when he's healthy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's that was a win I think the Jags really needed, and sort of keep them in a decent spot to go for the wild card. But yeah, I hate to see it because it really 3 touchdowns from Bowers. You think that'd have been enough for the Raiders, but they just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, best tight end in the game. Next one, Rams 34, Saints 10. Pretty much, start to finish, just whooping there. Your thought on that game?
Yeah, just Rams are a very solid team. They are right up there with the contenders in the NFC, and the Saints are not. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yep. And a battle of 2 heavyweights in the AFC, maybe not necessarily record-wise with the Chiefs this year, but these are 2 teams that are probably going to see in the playoffs. Bills get it done at home, 28-21. Your thought on that game?
Yeah, huge win for the Bills again, although it is kind of I feel like we've seen this movie before. The Bills seem to get the best of the Chiefs in the regular season. If they play in the playoffs, it usually goes the other way. But the one difference I think this year is, Joey Bosa was such a difference maker in that game, and the Bills' ability to get after Mahomes, hold him to under 50% completion percentage was huge. But I'm sure as Bills fans would just probably take that for what it is, and be happy to get that win, but know that it really, until you can do it in January, it really doesn't fully matter.
Yeah, absolutely. Next one, Sunday night game that turned into an absolute just whooping. Seahawks get it done 38-14 in a game that was not nearly as close as that score indicates. So Jackson Smith-Njigba, maybe best receiver in the NFL this year?
I think so. I think the Seahawks legitimate. Again, the Commanders have officially cemented their status as the year from hell team, and then as capped by Jaden Daniels going down with a horrifying looking injury in
a 30-point game
that he probably shouldn't have been in, and he certainly shouldn't have been running in. But the Seahawks look like a legitimate Super Bowl contender. The way Darnold's playing, like you said, the way JSN is always gets open. They line him up all over the field. The dude always gets open. He's almost at 1,000 yards halfway through the season, but their defense is also dominant as well. So they look to be a force in the NFC right now, especially with what we talked about earlier with some of these top teams faltering.
Yeah. And another one of those guys that quarterback rehab school, Sam Darnold, he looks like one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. And then last night's game, Cardinals with kind of a surprise win and looking pretty dominant in this game. Our old friend Jacoby Brissett gets it done 27-17 over the Cowboys. Your thought on that one?
Yeah, yet another. You got, Baker doing his thing. You got Brissett doing his thing. You got Flacco doing his thing. You got a lot of, former Browns cast-offs. But yeah, it was a really good win. What I was happy to see and watch in that game was how good Marvin Harrison Jr. looked. And that he seems to have shaken the whatever it was that was kind of bothering him early in the year with the drops. But his route running is still insane. I think the Cardinals have made the right choice. It sounds like they're sticking with Brissett.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys, what the hell can you say? It's like, I mean, the offense had looked so good. Now it doesn't look as good. Now they've traded for some defensive help after they traded Parsons. It's just kind of like they always figure a way in the news, and there's always some kind of drama going on in Dallas. But this really looks like it's going to be another season without the playoffs for them, and that was a killer loss.
Yeah, since their run in the '90s, never great, always interesting though. So
yeah.
Cowboys never a dull, like, I guess that's to their credit though. At least Jerry Jones is giving you something interesting to watch there. All right, so we'll wrap up with that. Let's take a look real quick at so these are, you got your 1-win teams down at the bottom, the Jets, the Saints, and the Titans. Your 2-win team, Giants, Dolphins, Raiders, and Browns. But then you go all the way up to 7-win teams. You got the Patriots, Colts, and Broncos. If I'd like to know someone that thought those would be the 3 best teams in the league, especially outside of Denver. If you had New England and, maybe you thought New England could be a little frisky this year. And Indy, I think a lot of people were down on Indy coming into the season. So anything on that list, besides, that maybe the Colts that surprised you so far this year?
Yeah, it's first, it's interesting that there's only one team with 4 wins. That just kind of looks like a total outlier there. Panthers 5-4. Panthers and the Chiefs having the same record is kind of crazy. The Jags being 5-3 with the Chiefs being 5-4 and the Jags having beat the Chiefs. So, I mean, right now I believe the Chiefs are actually the 8th seed in the AFC and wouldn't even be in the playoffs. And we're still talking about they'll probably beat Buffalo when they play them again. It's just how programmed we are. But it really is a crazy year. And if you look at the 3, I did a quick count. Looks like there's 14 teams with 3 or less wins. And I would say, besides the Ravens, which we've talked about a lot, are you crossing off the other 13? Do you think any of those other teams have a legitimate chance to make the playoffs?
Out of those teams, I might give the Bucks are playing so well, and they got 3 more wins than the Falcons. Falcons would be the only team just because of their offensive skill talent. And their defense was playing so well. That's a team that's knocked off the Bills, but that's a team that's also lost 30-0 to the Panthers. So, I mean, the 1-win and 2-win teams, I'm crossing all of them off. Maybe the Texans still. Maybe hold out a little hope for the Texans, but other than that, no. I think the rest are.
That's interesting. So if we're keeping the Ravens in, obviously, and then we say maybe between the Falcons or Texans, one of them could. That basically leaves like 20 teams kind of up in the 3 or above, fighting for 14 playoff spots. So I guess the other way to look at it is, there's basically, of those 4, 5, even 6-win teams, or hell, who knows, with even 7, there could be a meltdown. Probably 4 to 6 of those won't make the playoffs either. So it's going to be a very interesting second half of the year, as it always is. But, there are clearly, when you look at this and just what the eye test has shown you all year, there are no dominant teams in this league right now.
No.
And it could look really weird in the playoffs. You could have teams that you are accustomed to seeing at the top of a conference with buys and home games playing like road games as wild card teams. And you could have teams like the Patriots or the Colts or the Broncos, having a home field or even a bye. So it is wide open.
So by eye test, who do you think so far the best team in the NFL is right now?
Interesting. I mean,
I'll tell you mine first.
The Seahawks look the best. Like, the Seahawks looked the best of any team that I saw, but it's very recent, and they were playing a Washington team that seems like they're just, out of steam, but like they are way, way, way up there for me. I don't trust any of those 7-win teams up there at all.
Yeah. I think the Broncos have the best roster of those teams from top to bottom, but I still can't find my way to trusting Bo Nix fully, at least yet. So out of those other teams, out of the 6-win teams, I think I trust the Rams the most out of those teams, just based on what I've seen this year. But then they got Stafford could go down anytime. Puka Nacua is hurt again. It's like you never know. That's a team that's very fragile. But if things are going well, they're going well. So, and the Bills, the Bills are great, but like they can also lose to just about anybody in the league too. So, yeah. So it's, like you said, it's going to be very, very interesting. This is what the playoffs would look like right now. As this weekend would start, you'd have, the Colts, who just lost to the Steelers as the 1 seed. You'd have the Eagles as the 1 seed on the other side. But then, you see the matchups. It looks like that'd be great matchups to start the playoffs. But we know this is going to shift all around. But, that kind of gives you a nice little picture of what it would be right now. All right. So AFC North. We've been doing this every week for the past few weeks, just as the Ravens have been creeping up from the bottom. So Ravens are still minus 135 to win the division. So anybody not familiar with betting, that means you would have to lay $135 to win 100. If you bet the Steelers right now, you'd have to, they're plus 140. You lay 100, you win 140 back. So Steelers are plus money to win the division with still a 2-game lead, but those two teams will still play twice this rest of the season. And the Steelers schedule gets a little bit tougher as we go. I think the Ravens schedule gets a little bit easier as we go, but I think we can cross off the Bengals and the Browns. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting fight with those two teams. As unfortunately, as we see most of the time, it's usually it's usually the Ravens and the Steelers fighting for that top spot in the AFC North. So, what do you think about the way the division odds look right now?
Yeah, I think it's about right. Honestly, I still like the Ravens, but we could, this is another kind of swing week. The Vikings looked really good last week. That's a tough place to play. So that's a tough game for the Ravens. The Steelers go to LA to play the Chargers, and the worst home field advantage in the NFL. That's going to be a Steeler home game. Basically, there's going to be more Steeler fans than Charger fans. I believe that's a Sunday night game. That's I think I picked the Steelers. I hope they don't win, but that's a tough spot. So, I mean, that is the thing about the Ravens that we've talked about all year with them digging themselves this kind of hole. They can't afford to slip up.
Yep.
If the Ravens lose and the Steelers win, all of a sudden those odds flip. Those odds get really flip in a hurry. But as long as I think you kind of hit it on the head. As long as the Ravens can stay within that 2-game, within 2 games of the Steelers, knowing that they play twice, it puts them right where they need to be. They just have to take care of business when they play Pittsburgh.
Absolutely.
And you could put as many zeros on that 6 plus 6,000 as you want, and
light it on fire.
Still lighting it on fire. So no way. Just no way.
Why don't you give me half the money you were going to bet? I'll take you out back, kick you in the nuts. We'll call it a day. Here's our picks for week 11. So we differ on 4 games this week. I am on the Colts. Greg is on the Falcons. I am on the Browns this week. We're going to make our score predictions here in a little bit for that game. Greg is going with the Jets. Now, you sent me those picks before all the trades happened. So if you want to walk that back, I'll let you walk that one back. But
no, I'm good. I'm sticking until the Browns show me something. I'm not going to pick them, and I hope they prove me wrong every week.
That's fine. I am on the Chargers. Greg is on the Steelers. I am on the Eagles. Greg is on the Packers, who have cost me a few dollars this year. So, but But
well, it's ironic because you just talked about the 3 teams you hate and you'll never pick, and you are man of your word because you didn't pick any of them. So
that is true.
I'm giving Raheem Morris one more shot in Germany
Okay.
Sunday morning, and then I'm right with you.
I think I might do a 3-game parlay this weekend of the Colts, the Browns, and the Eagles. Just 3-game money line parlay. We'll see what that pays. But yeah, I'm glad you reiterated that point. I didn't even think about that till you said that. So that's our picks for this week. We'll post those out on social media as we always do. But Greg, with a 2-game lead, but for the most part, having a pretty decent season there. So let's get into our game here. Brown, this is probably not one from a national perspective that's going to get a ton of love, but as of this afternoon, Browns 2.5-point favorite. Now, I don't know if that line moves since the trade. That hurts the Jets, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I saw Garrett Wilson is questionable to play this weekend, which would obviously hurt their offense. But Browns, 2.5-point favorites, 37.5 is the total. So once again, a very low scoring prediction from Vegas in this one. So Browns lead the series 16-14 all time. So 31st matchup. Greg, what is your score prediction for this weekend? Browns at the New York Jets.
Oh man! So first of all, I think can we start calling these games the Spiro Didi special, because I think he's on it again. And how many Browns games has he called this year? But aside from that, like I said, I mean, I obviously root for the Browns. I hope the Browns win. I do certainly think the trades that the Jets made, and I did just take a quick look, and it's still Browns minus 2.5.
Okay.
And still 37.5. There's just a tad bit more, or it's a minus 112 to bet the Jets side and minus 108 to bet the Brown side. So it's pretty much pretty even up there. I'm going to say 20-17 Jets. I don't know. Like I said, I want, until the Browns kind of prove that they can go out and, win a game. I mean, the Miami game was great. And, that was a kind of more of a terrible game for Miami, and just but we got it done. But until we can go out and actually win a football game, I think by playing some good offensive football, I will continue to not pick the Browns to win. It's a great spot. We're coming off a bye. This is absolutely a game we should be able to win. Same time, like how many examples over the years have we not been able to get wins in these games? So Justin Fields did look really good last time out. It was against shitty Bengals defense, but I think the Jets do seem to play hard for Aaron Glenn, and they do play inspired football now with trading some of their best players. Will they still do that? I don't know. I'm going to go with the Jets. I'm going to hope for the Browns. I do feel pretty decent, from a Browns standpoint. I don't know that I feel decent enough that we should be favorites on the road, but hey, we'll take it. We just got to back it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're at that weird point of the season too, where it's like, I want the Browns to win, but I also want one of those top 5-6 draft picks. But you're competing against a lot of bad teams for those top 5 picks next year. So it's kind of like, just play out your season, like be competitive, get some wins if you can. And, you're going to get a nice player, whatever pick you're getting. You're not picking number 1. Most likely. So there's believe it or not, there's about 4 or 5 teams worse than the Browns in the NFL this year. But I actually wrote down my score before you gave me your score. I have 21-17 Browns. So 1 point off, but you're on the under. I'm on the over. So I am at 38 total points. You're at 37 total points. And I do have the Browns covering the 2.5-point spread with a 4-point victory. 21-17. So Greg has the Jets 2017. I have the Browns 21-17. And we'll see. Hopefully hopefully, Browns can get it done. But again,
that tells you maybe a tease, tease the Jets plus 8.5 and under like 43.5 feels pretty decent. I don't know, but as decent as it can feel. But I don't know. Sometimes these games can get high scoring, but it's hard to imagine these two teams putting up too many points. But there could be defensive touchdowns and crazy shit that happens.
Always, never a doubt. All right, let's close it out on a Browns note before we move on. We had a friend send us this in a text message the other day, and I just had to share this out. We try to like dip our toe into pop culture here and there, but this was pretty damn good. So this is a quote from the new Naked Gun movie, a little cut from it, but Frank Drebin, who's played by Liam Neeson in that. I'm not sure who Beth Davenport is. That is that what's her name?
It could be the Pam Anderson character. Would be my guess, but I don't know.
I have not seen it yet, but this is an excerpt from the movie. So Frank Drebin Jr. Excuse the mess. I haven't had the heart to clean since my wife died. Beth Davenport. My condolences. How did she pass? Frank Drebin Jr. Great. 50 yards easy. Armed like a cannon. And then she died. So we'll never know if she'd go pro. She was the sweetest woman I've ever known. Beth Davenport. She sounds like a saint. Frank Drebin Jr. Or maybe a Bronco or 49er. We would have been happy with any team, really. Anyone but the Browns.
And Browns still catching strays.
I have not seen that movie, so I don't know if I read that in correct context, but perfectly sums up the national narrative on the Cleveland Browns quarterback situation over the last 25 years outside of maybe a year or two. So thought that was pretty great and wanted to share that. All right, let's move on to a really good team in Cleveland, or at least a team that's going to be very good this year. The Cavs, 4-3, kind of, just kind of like treading water right now until they can get, obviously, Garland coming back on Wednesday night. At least that's the plan. And Max Strus should be back fairly soon too. But, dropped a couple games this team at full strength would not lose. The Boston Celtics game last week, they just shot out of their mind. I think we were even messaging during the game, maybe you want to get a hand up on Sam Hauser. Maybe not let him make 5 threes in a row or whatever it was. And Jaylen Brown went off in that game. So the Celtics, as we know, are still a dangerous team. They're a very, very good team. That's lost, a few of their big pieces, including their main piece in Tatum for most of the year. But that's a team not to be messed with. Toronto, that's a game we should have won. We'll chalk that up to being Halloween, a weird night there. Come back, get the win against the Hawks on Sunday. They have 2 days off, which is kind of nice. They come back tomorrow night. We'll play the Philadelphia 76ers. They're bringing back those like throwback jerseys that were like LeBron era, like mid LeBron era, probably like late 2000s. So that'll be kind of cool to see. This new version of the Cavs in those old throwbacks. But the Cavs, like offensively, they're scoring a decent amount, but like by NBA standards, they're 23rd right now in the league in scoring. They're only allowing 114 points a game, but that's a 9th best in the league. That just shows you where this league's at compared to, 15, 20 years ago. Like teams are scoring at a high rate. But the Cavs field goal percentage is way down overall, but they are taking, I think they're taking and making the second most threes per night in the league, or makes per game is 9th, but like they're taking, I think, the second most. And rebounds, we mentioned this last week. It's a bit of a concern. They're getting out rebounded by about 2 rebounds a game right now, but again, very early. But just real quick thought on the Cavs like through these first 7 games.
Yeah, I think first of all, I just did a little quick back of the napkin math. So the Cavs have played 7 out of 82. So that is the equivalent of a little over 1 NFL game in an NFL season as far as how far we are through the season. So everybody take a breath. We're 4-3. last year we were 7-0. Last year we were 15-0, and look what it got us. So
Yep.
it's absolutely a marathon, not a sprint. We haven't been healthy. We're going to start getting guys back. So, I think this team, will go on a run here at some point, hopefully sooner than later. All those points you brought up are valid concerns. Like the inability to secure defensive rebounds to me is something that I really want to see us clean up. And it really starts with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. I mean, I jokingly texted to you, but it actually wasn't really joking. I feel like Lonzo Ball, and I'd even put Craig Porter Jr. in the mix as far as like those guys can go up and get rebounds better than sometimes our bigs can.
Yeah.
And we got to get better on that as the season goes on. But it's early. One guy I do want to call out who's been a tremendous positive, and I think we'll continue to see the floor a lot, even when we're at full strength, is Jalen Tyson. Jalen Tyson has looked tremendous.
Yeah.
He's a tenacious defensive player. He's kind of like got a little dog in him. He's a little feisty. He can shoot. He can drive. He is a legitimate rotation player that's gonna be big for us as the season goes on. And we are giving opportunities to others like Tyrese Proctor. He's not playing the best, but he's getting run. So there's positives to be had in what we're seeing, but ultimately, and we know Kenny Atkinson is a very detail oriented guy, and there's a lot right now that we got to sharpen up and clean up, and hopefully we can do it as we get to full strength and go on a run. But no concerns. It was nice to get that Hawks win. You never want to go under 500. Hopefully we don't go under 500 at all at any point this year, besides being like 0-1. But tough game tomorrow. Philly's off to a great start, and it'll be a challenge. But it kind of is. It's, we said, there's outside of OKC, there's not really any dominant teams in the league this year, but there are a lot of feisty teams. There's not a lot of free rides either this year. So every night's going to be a battle. You're going to get something from somebody. You're going to get a lot of teams that are playing hard. So I look forward to the season kind of as the season gets going, as we start to roll. I feel like there's an 8 or 10 game winning streak coming, but probably not for a bit.
Yeah. Let this team get healthy. That's a great point you made of like the Cavs have played the equivalent of one NFL game right now. So, if you're looking at comparing an NBA schedule to an NFL schedule, the only other analogy I'd make is if you want to, call Kenny Atkinson a chef, he's kind of cooking a meal with like some different ingredients, and he's trying to like piece those together, see what's going to, like bake up or cook up the best, and let him do that. Let him figure it out. There's going to be some growing pains throughout this year, especially with some new guys in the lineup, some injuries, resting some guys. That will all benefit us late April, May, and we hope into June. So, might have a few extra losses on the ledger this year that maybe we wouldn't have had last year, but that might equate to some more wins in the playoffs this coming year. So, so that's a great analogy. Thought we'd touch on the Cavs just a little bit. It's hard to go on a weekly show to talk about the Cavs, but it's nice to just hit some bullet points on each, as we go through the season. All right, before we go, two quick things. Let's first let's talk about the World Series here. So the Dodgers beat the Blue Jays, win the World Series 4-3, and just an unbelievable Game 7, probably the best Game 7 since the 2016 Game 7, which we all know too well, and we're not going to bring up more than that. But I highlighted this picture, and I put the arrow on there to show what an absolute game of inches this was. If it was a Rojas that made the play at second, threw the ball, and Will Smith's foot was off the plate and just got back in. It's even closer than this picture that's on the screen. And my immediate first thought was, are we going to see the World Series being won on an overturned call? Like that was my very first thought. And I'm so like, I feel bad for the Blue Jays that they did not win it, but I am happy that it didn't end like that. So, what's your thoughts on like the, Game 7, the World Series in general, and the Dodgers winning again?
Yeah, that's a really good point there. I didn't really thought about it that way, but yeah, it was, everybody wants to rush to like rank, oh, that was not the best World Series we've ever seen. I don't know, but it was one of the better ones that I've seen in my lifetime. There's probably 4 or 5 you could point to over the years, but this is right up there. The drama, like to me, like you can't, I'm a baseball fan. My kids play baseball. I played baseball. So it's like, I love the sport, but you really can't beat the drama of playoff baseball, especially as it gets to this level in these type of games, and just the every pitch, just the tension. It's hard as an Indians Guardians fan. We can certainly relate to what Blue Jays fans are feeling. Sports can be really cruel. It really got to that point, and I was literally sitting there watching it with my kids, and I like almost had the blanket over my head at points where it was just like when Bieber came into the game, my immediate reaction was like, oh no, not because I didn't think he was capable, because he did really well, but it's like, oh God, like somebody's going to win it, but there's always the flip side is somebody loses it. And like, I still root for all these old Guardians players. I love Bieber, and it's like somebody's gonna like, he may give, and he ultimately gave up the World Series winning home run. But it was just the back and forth, the incredible plays, Rojas hitting that home run, which actually kind of reminded me a little bit of the Rajai Davis home run. Yep. It was just an out of nowhere guy hitting a home run. The Pages catch after like one batter after just coming into the game.
Yeah.
Almost colliding with Kike Hernandez and making the play. Just all those plays. The Rojas throw to home to get Kiner Falefa that you mentioned, the Will Smith home run.
And then you got like Yamamoto coming in, who pitched the day before and threw 100 pitches the day before, comes in. Glass now, just unbelievable stuff.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Stuff.
So it's, props to the Dodgers. Like they're kind of everything that's wrong with baseball, but I also don't really mind them. There's not really a lot of guys on that team that are like, I don't like them. It's good for Clayton Kershaw to ride off into the sunset, but this is a tough one. This will stick with you, and sports is so cruel. I was thinking about this the other day, and we've been on, unfortunately, we've been on both sides of this, and we talk about how painful it is to be a Browns fan.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 30 teams in the MLB, right? Only one team is going to be truly happy at the end of the season. The second place team, that's always the most painful. Like, if you're the White Sox or a Rockies fan or whatever, whatever.
Your season was over in May.
So in a way, it's like, as a Browns fan, you kind of can point this back to the Browns. It's like, yeah, it's miserable being a Browns fan. But, at least we don't have to deal with like losing in the Super Bowl on the last second field goal or something,
Right.
There is pain. There is so much pain associated with getting that close and not getting there for all the reasons. But the most primary reason is that how damn hard it is to get there. And like, you may never get back, or you're not going to get back anytime soon. So brutal loss for the Blue Jays. They played valiantly, but ultimately, the Kings stay king. But what a series.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up that point with the Dodgers too. Like they are what's wrong with baseball in the sense of, Shohei Ohtani made $2 million this year with $68 million deferred, because the Dodgers can just pay, they can write a blank check and pay whatever they want. They have an unlimited payroll. And the Guardians probably payroll over the next 10 years will equal the Dodgers, this year. I don't know the math on that, but it's a very like apples and oranges type game. But with that said, the Dodgers do have a lot of likable guys on their team. It's not like a team full of like, guys that you're not really rooting for or don't like. So Yeah, so that was well said. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just like guys just make plays. You know, if Pajes doesn't make that play, Blue Jays win. You know, if they don't turn that double play, there's a good chance of the Blue Jays win. You know, it's just guys stepped up, made plays, and somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. And unfortunately, for the Blue Jays, Dodgers just made one more play, and that's what it came down to. So yeah, congratulations to them. And then let's do one final thought here. We're going to do it with our manager of the Cleveland Guardians. That is Mr. Stephen Vogt. And this, you know, it's election night in America. You know, we're not on a presidential election cycle, but it's you know, it's an election night. So let's do this, and it's timely because I hate daylight savings time. I hate it, and so we're gonna go with this. So let me just read this here. So daylight savings time debate centers on whether to continue the twice yearly clock change, and if not, which permanent time, standard or daylight savings to adopt. Arguments against the current system cite negative health effects like increased heart attacks, sleep disruption, while proponents of permanent daylight savings time focus on extended evening daylight for recreation and the economy. Conversely, those favoring year-round standard time argue it better aligns with our natural circadian rhythms and ensures brighter mornings during winter. So I feel like this is one of those things that it's like, why is this still a thing? And I've heard things that it's because of the farmers back in the 20s and 30s. I've heard because of the World War II and stuff like that. So I don't actually know the exact history of this, but every year it still drives me crazy that we have to change. Like, what year is this? It's 2025. Why are we still, you know, falling back and springing forward? Just pick one and go with it. Like, and then people won't bitch about it twice a year like me, who constantly complains about this. So your thoughts on this? So standard time is what we were on. Mm-hmm. Daylight savings time is what we are on currently. So what would you pick?
I think it's the opposite, right? I think we're off of daylight savings time now, right?
Oh, correct. I'm sorry.
Yeah. We're on. Yeah.
So what would you, which one would you go with?
And this might be swayed by like where we're at right now, but I got done working a little after 5 today. I got in my car. I went to go vote and run a couple errands. And by the time I was like walking out of the voting place, it was dark. Yes. And I was like, this is fucking horrible.
Yeah.
So as of me right now on November 4th, I would love to stay on daylight. I would love to stay flipped ahead. Because to me, I'd rather in any scenario, it'd be lighter or longer at night. Like, I'm not really a morning person, admittedly. So like,
real quick though, Greg, I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. The clocks fall back to standard time in the autumn and spring forward into daylight savings time in the spring.
So I would stay on daylight savings. I would stay sprung forward. Like if it were me right now, it would be 11:30.
Yes.
And it would have gotten dark like at 6:30 and not like 5:30. And for the simple fact that whatever morning, don't care, whatever, to me, there's nothing more miserable than when it's dark at 5 o'clock at night.
Yes.
That's just me.
Yeah.
That's just me. Now there's some people that say, man, and it also, and I will sacrifice having to get up when it's dark if I know it's at least going to be light later.
Yes. I don't want to go to work and it be dark and get home and it's dark.
That is
one of those two.
That is the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we're both in agreement on that one. And quit switching, like just pick one.
Yeah. I do agree that that's the idea of like, yeah, we should pick one, stick with it. We don't need to. Yeah.
Because if if it was, if it was the way it is now and we don't spring forward, like we both prefer, then whatever, we'll get used to it. But like the going back and
you
forth,
still get a lot of daylight in the summer, but yeah.
Yeah.
But the winters are rough enough, and I know the days are shorter anyway. So I mean, no matter what you do, you're not gonna like make it great. But man, it is incredibly depressing. Especially like when you used to work in an office where you would literally, if you work in an office and you are not like by a window, like you could conceivably show up to work when it's dark and you could walk out and it's dark and you could really never see the light of day, literally.
Like you're in a friggin' man-made prison. All work.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up there. So we're both voting. So yeah, we're both voting for that. Like, just keep it the way it was. We don't need to fall back. We want that like daylight towards the end of the day. So
and all these people who are like, oh, look, the extra hour so I could stay out at the bar till 3 a.m. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
One night. Come on.
Yeah, seriously. All right, Bruno, shut it down. All right. Well, yeah, we'll end it there. But yeah, so good for debate though. There, I'm curious what other people think on that. So drop us a comment, let us know what you think. But I don't want to be switching back. And I even heard a guy in Congress, and maybe he's got a valid point, but he was even like, oh, there's going to be kids getting hit by school buses in the morning. Like, get the hell out of here. Like,
and also like if I mean, I'm going to be honest here. There's a lot of stuff that was on that thing. If we as human beings are so disturbed by like 1 hour of movement, like one way or the other, then maybe we aren't as sophisticated of creatures as we were cut out to be, which if you watch the news every day, that probably is true.
The machines will be taking over very, very soon. All right, we'll end it on that. So we're going to run it back here with our Ohio State and college football talk here in just a minute. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back very shortly. So stay locked on this channel for some Buckeye and college football talk here in just a minute.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook.